Quarterback Stripe Show podcast on a Monday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Hope you had a terrific weekend. Hope you enjoyed the PGA Championship as Justin Thomas gets his second Wanamaker trophy, his 15th win now on the PGA Tour as he moves up to number 5 in the official world golf rankings. Kind of an interesting tournament, really. I think the jury probably still remains out on Southern Hills, the type of golf course that it is. I actually played it back in 1998, my junior year, NAIA National Championships. It's a unique, a different golf course, certainly a championship golf course. And the way they set it up there, it was extremely difficult. And weather, a change in weather, as we talked about last week, which was coming, that you just normally don't see. You know, you get into the low 90s and humid, and then all of a sudden the storm comes through and it is cold and wet and windy, highs of 55. So just an incredible change in the elements. South wind moves to the north wind and it's howling. So who could make the adjustments? Who could hold on? Who could handle the major championship pressure late on a Sunday? And I think, to no one's surprise, Justin Thomas comes all the way back to win his second title. A lot to get to today. Jordan Schultz will be joining us. Great follow at Jordan Schultz on Instagram. We'll be talking PGA Championship, probably talking some other sports as well. But a couple things before we get to Jordan. As I laid in bed last night and thought about the PGA Championship, there were a couple things that really just continued to come to mind. You know, we're in an era here where we look at these young players coming up and they get the professional card. They get on the PGA Tour as rookies, Mito Pereira, Cameron Young, and they're ready to compete and they're ready to get on the first page of the leaderboard and they're ready to win right away. The experiences that these players are getting now at a young age, junior golf, playing in big championships as a junior player, of course, getting into college, playing collegiately. Some of these guys get opportunities, invitations to play in professional events as an amateur. We've seen that in the past. Jordan Spieth back in his day when he was a star in Texas, playing in the Byron Nelson. Those types of examples are playing out all of the time on the PGA Tour. Of course, they turn pro, great feeder system, the mini tours leading up to the Korn Ferry Tour. Is there any more convincing needed that the Korn Ferry Tour is just producing high-level players every single year? Mito Pereira won 3 times last year on the Korn Ferry Tour. Cameron Young almost won 3 times in a row, won 2 times. He comes out. I mean, it's just over and over now. We're seeing Davis Riley, these players coming from the Korn Ferry Tour and having success early on the PGA Tour. Now, of course, you go back 30, 40 years ago, back in the day, and that wasn't the case. There was a bigger learning curve to have. You were a true rookie. And you had to come out and kind of learn the ropes, get the buy-in from the other players. You know, you just weren't as confident as a rookie. There was a learning curve there. There was going to be some struggle there. Not anymore. You know, these guys come out, they're ready to win right now. They're not afraid. Mito Pereira is not afraid. Cameron Young is not afraid. Will Zalatoris, 25 years of age, is not afraid. But what dawned on me is that what hasn't changed is when the major championship pressure hits, there's no experience for that, right? It doesn't matter how much you've played in the past. I don't think it's going to prepare you what's going to hit you in a major championship, that kind of pressure, in particularly late on a Sunday. And we saw it play out. Mito Pereira, of course, he struggled on the 71st hole, the easiest hole in the course, drives it right there at the front of the green, very shaky chip, makes par. And then, of course, on the 72nd hole, he hits his driver. And that unusual kind of punch shot finish got a little more gyration in it, trying to save it. And he steered it and he hit it into the water on the right-hand side. And now Mito, look, from Chile, 27 years of age, has had all kinds of success. He knows how to win. He's not scared. But all of that at a young age You don't know what it's going to feel like until you get into a major championship and it hits you. And I'm not going to sit here and talk like I know what that feels like, because I don't. And no one does. That's Travis. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yep, that works. Yep, that works. All right, we'll see you then. Bye. All right, let's try this again. And we're back. Stripe Show podcast on a Monday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you got to get out and play a little bit of golf, as I did early on a Sunday morning. Threw out a little 68, 3 under par, Fleming Island, little public golf course here in Jacksonville. Won a couple closest to the pins, which was nice, $75 each. Didn't win any skins, but I played good. Got my new woods from PXG, my new Gen 5 driver, 3 wood. And I'm busting it. Busting it. Love those clubs. Love the irons. And I made a few putts, so I'm in a good mood. PGA Championship, of course. Wow, things got exciting quickly for 3.5 days. It was a little bit of a snooze fest. And then all of a sudden, Mito starts making bogeys, knocks it in the water in the 72nd hole, and Justin Thomas is there? My goodness. What was he, 8 or 9 back after his bogey on 3, and he comes all the way back? And he gets into a playoff with Will Zalatoris to win his second Wanamaker trophy, his 15th win now in the PGA Tour, and all the way up to number 5 now in the official World Golf rankings. Congratulations to Justin Thomas as he gets back in the winner's circle. Lots of things to talk about. There's so much on my docket today that I want to get to. Jordan Schultz is going to join me here in a little bit on the Stripe Show podcast. Give him a follow on Instagram. He's got a great following at Jordan Schultz. And we'll talk a little golf, probably talk some other sports as well, as I, kind of transition now into, some of my thoughts here. And I have a lot of notes here, and I'm trying to keep this organized in my head. I've got to start with Mito Pereira and Cameron Young. If you have been following the Stripe Show podcast, at the beginning of the year, there were 2 names that I threw out at you that I was really excited to watch, and I felt would follow the tracks of Sam Burns. And of course, I was very big on Sam Burns. It's panned out, top 20 for him this week. He had to feel good about his major championship as he continues to climb the ladder. Couple wins for Sam Burns now. But it was Mito Pereira and Cameron Young. Those were the 2 names that I gave you that I thought would be 2 guys to watch and would follow the path that Sam Burns has taken. And similar players. They're long off the tee. Cameron's longer than Mito, but Mito's long enough. But they're wonderful iron players, and they have great putting weeks. They'll make some putts. They're not the best putters, but they're going to fill it up from time to time. In addition to that, they're not scared. And most of these players are not when they come out from the Korn Ferry Tour or come up from college. They're not scared. I mean, you look at Cameron Young, he looks like he could just stare right through you. Cameron Young's one of those players, one of those guys I don't think you want to piss off. Little dog in Cameron Young. Mito's not scared. Mito Pereira, his track to professional golf, 3 wins on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. Cameron Young had 2. They come up, they're ready to win. They're not scared, neither one of them. And they have today's modern game. They're long off the tee. They're great iron players, and they're going to make some putts. They're not the best putters, but they're going to make some putts. Short game can get a little clunky at times, but the rest of it is there. The ball striking is there. They're going to have a lot of looks, and we're seeing that play out. Now, neither one of them, of course, got the win this week, but it's coming. You can see these guys have the modern game and will continue to put themselves there to clip off a win on the PGA Tour. As I was laying in bed last night and I was thinking about Mito and what happened there in the 72nd hole, and I was thinking about Cameron Young and really what happened on the 13th hole with Cameron. We'll get to that in a second. But the first thing that really came to my mind was, Mito and Cameron and Will, the modern game, the learning curve when they come to the PGA Tour is so much smaller now. They're ready to compete. They're ready to win right away. The Korn Ferry Tour is a great feeder system, folks, to the PGA Tour. And yet another example this week. I mean, look at the names: Will, Cameron, Mito. 3 guys, Davis, Riley, that are coming from the Korn Ferry Tour. Rookies, guys that don't have a lot of experience on the PGA Tour, ready to compete and ready to win. Now, all of that experience that they gain at the Korn Ferry Tour level, the collegiate level, and then even down to the junior golf level has moved this along. Today's game, the learning curve, because of all this experience at a young age, it's smaller now. Where 30, 40 years ago, when you came onto the PGA Tour, there was a big learning curve to be had. You were a true rookie. You were learning how to travel. You were learning how to fit in. You were learning the golf courses. You weren't as confident. You didn't have all those experiences in college and in junior golf to draw upon. So we see that now. We know these kids coming in, they're ready to go right away and they're ready to win. But what they're not ready for yet, and nothing can prepare you for this until you put yourself in that moment, is major championship pressure. You might be ready to win the 3M Open. You might be ready to win the Genesis. You might be ready to win the John Deere Classic, but you're not ready to win a major championship yet until you feel that pressure. And it played out once again. The pressure hit. Mito talked about how it continued to build, and I can only imagine playing the last 2 holes, the amount of pressure he was feeling and the way his body felt in his hands. He's never felt that before. So experience plays out in major championship. The learning curve is still great, is still there in major championships to clip off and win one of these things. It doesn't mean they can't go out there and compete and get on the first page, but to get it to the finish line and handle those nerves, the learning curve is still there. And it played out in Tulsa at Southern Hills as JT came all the way back to tie Will Zalatoris. Now, I feel bad for Mito. I do. I feel bad for Mito and what happened. But I think when you look at Mito, and this takes me to my second point here, and you look at, some things that happened with Mito perhaps on the final day before we got to the 72nd hole. And I think Mito at times was a little too aggressive. He short-sided himself, I think, 3 times down the stretch. Now, he was able to escape a couple times, but it did cost him a couple bogeys as well. Short-siding himself, let's see, he short-sided himself on 10. He knocked it into the trees there. He had to punch out. Instead of just kind of getting in the middle of the green, he roped it over there to the left. Now, he was able to get it up and down there. It was an unbelievable flop shot. But he short-sided himself. He short-sided himself on 14 where he didn't get it up and down. He short-sided himself. There's one other hole. I can't quite remember what hole that was, but he short-sided himself on another hole that cost him. It just seemed like Mito was missing the ball in some difficult spots. I mean, the major championship, and Nick Faldo talk about this, it's about angles and there's strategy there. And I know we're in an era where you can push the ball down the fairway as much as you can and the statistics play out, but there's still some angles to this and missing the ball in the right spot. And usually professionals are very good at this. I thought Mito short-sided himself way too often, but you can see them there on the 71st hole. Great drive, nice little fade up into the saddle there. And that little pitch shot had a lot of nerves in it. He mishit it. A lot of nerves. It was starting to hit him right there at the major championship pressure. You have a chance to win. If he gets that ball up and down, which he probably does 9 times out of 10 with no pressure, he probably wins that tournament. He goes to the 18th with a 2-shot lead, and he does hit 3-wood off the tee. He might hit 4-iron off the tee, but he couldn't get it up and down. The pressure hit him right there, and he goes to 18. I was okay with him hitting driver. He had a beautiful drive there on the 17th. He had a beautiful drive yesterday on the 18th with the driver, so why not? You know, he's a good driver of the golf ball. A little bullet cut as he's been hitting, but the pressure hit him. So there were some short-sighted situations. There was the clanky up and down on 17 that he gets up and down in his sleep with no pressure, and then, of course, he tried to steer one down there on the 72nd. Yes, you've won 3 times in the Korn Ferry Tour. Yes, you are celebrated from Chile as a young 27-year-old. But the learning curve is real when that pressure hits. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what that feels like, because I don't. The only people that know is that have put themselves in that situation. And that learning curve is still present. Now, with me, though, is Cameron Young, right? That was the other name that I gave you. And Cameron Young is the real deal, folks. I mean, this young man from New York is the real deal. I made the comment that Cameron Young will win before Will Zalatoris, and, well, that almost played out the other way, as Will could have won that playoff. But they were both right there. Both young, fun, exciting players to watch. Cameron long off the tee. Really good iron player. And he can putt. Now, his weakness can be his short game, in particularly his greenside bunker play. His bunker play wasn't good enough. He didn't get it up and down. Let's see, he was 4 for 10 on the week, near the bottom. And his bunker play cost him down the stretch. And when you're trying to win a major championship, these things, little things, play out. But I think where Cameron, to me, when I think back from a strategy standpoint, it was the decision on the 13th, the par 5, that I was a little bit concerned about. He had a big drive down the right-hand side. Of course, they had the tees moved up where you could get to 13 and 2. And I don't know why they didn't do that every single day. I hate watching par 5s where there's just no chance to go for it in 2. I hate watching par 3s. It's 230, 245 yards, and guys are just trying to hit it on the green. I get having a little bit of that, but just over and over and over again, I'm not a fan of. But that's just me. But Cameron's there in the rough, and he decides to go for it in 2. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we know that in today's game, you got to push the ball down the fairway. Hit it as far down the fairway you can. Hit it as far down there on your second shot as you can. Get as close as you can, right? That kind of plays out over a course of time statistically. But Cameron, when he went for it on the second shot, he hit a big high fade that landed in the back portion of the green, went over, and then into the bunker. What's Cameron Young's weakest part of his game? His bunker play. And it was in such a bad spot that he couldn't even aim at the flagstick. He had to play way left. In fact, he probably hit his best bunker shot of the 10 for the week right there. And it was still 30 feet below the hole. He made par. Now, when you think about Cameron Young on Sunday, what's the one shot that really stood out to you where it was like, damn, this guy's so good at this shot? It was that little flighted lob wedge from 70, 80, 100 yards. He was hitting it in there to like 12 feet every single time, pin high. Cameron Young needed to lay up there, put the lob wedge back in his hand, and hit it up there to like 6 feet and give himself a reasonable look. Take the bunker out of play. But he went for it, push it down there, be aggressive. I think it cost him right there on the 13th. I think it cost him from that line. Now, of course, if he's in the fairway, yeah, you're going to go for it. But a high cut out of a jumper lie hybrid, you know, he just left himself in a tough spot. And how many did Cameron Young lose by? He lost by 1. It's a very fine line late down the stretch. Now you fast forward into the playoff, JT and Will. JT hits it in the same spot on the right-hand side. What does he do? He lays up. He lays up to 70 yards, hits it in there to 5 feet, and makes birdie. So it's easy, Monday quarterback, to kind of second guess some of this stuff. But when I saw Cameron Young pull that hybrid out, I was like, I don't know here. I don't want you in the bunker, Cameron. I don't want you in the bunker like you got in on 16 and made double. You made a mess of that. Like, you got to avoid some of those situations. His weakness, played it with strength. Love that little lob wedge shot. So I thought from a strategy standpoint, Cameron Young could look back and learn from some of these things as well. Mito, from a strategy standpoint, short-siding himself, can learn as they move forward. So this is all part of it. And the learning curve, I think, is real under that kind of pressure. The learning curve is shortened when it comes to PGA Tour golf and getting out there and feeling comfortable and clipping one of those off. But the learning curve is still present in major championship golf. Before we bring Jordan on, I want to talk about Will Zalatoris here real quickly. Look, I of Mito and Cameron, and I'm really excited for those two and have been for quite some time. Will Zalatoris is an absolute gem. I love Will Zalatoris. A guy that, again, from the Korn Ferry Tour, he's come up pretty quickly. He hasn't got his win yet, but he's been there time and time again. It's coming. But Will Zalatoris has to walk away from this tournament and feel very good about where his game at. He putted the ball as well as I have ever seen him putt. His driver cost him. He was playing from the rough too much, but his putter was better. Yes, I know there was a couple that he missed, but he's got to feel very, very good. And the other thing, when I was watching Will this week, I'm thinking to myself, the maturity, the vibe, the attitude coming from Will was real. He's 25. He's out there walking around like he's 32, just in control. The situation that happened at 6, he had to drop it onto the cart path, hit from the little crack in the cart path, a shot he probably hasn't hit since he was 7. And he gets it up and down for bogey. Just so much poise, so much maturity, and more importantly, so much growth in the putter. Growth in the putter. And that, folks, is going to propel Will Zalatoris to multiple wins because the dude is a ball striking machine with his irons. What do all these guys have in common? JT, Will, Cameron Young, Mito Pereira, they can hit their irons. Great iron play. Adequate distance off the tee, great iron play, and have yourself some great putting weeks. Off you go on the PGA Tour. And on that note, let's bring him in. Jordan Schultz here on the Tribe Show podcast. And let's bring him in now. He's up and at it in New York City. Jordan Schultz, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Travis. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I got to first ask, for those watching on video, I see a mitt in the backdrop, and then I see a really cool basketball shoe. You gotta tell us what this is about.
Okay, so I'll start with the mitt. The mitt is an Ichiro game-worn, game-used mitt that's signed on the mitt and also on here as well, number 51. And then the shoes are actually Kobe shoes.
Ooh, wow.
That are also signed 2 or 3 times. And so they're both great pieces for me. I'm from Seattle. So when I was in 8th grade, 2001, 2000, the Mariners, that was when they won 116 games. It was an incredible season. And it was Ichiro's rookie year. He won AL Rookie of the Year and AL MVP. So I became obsessed with Ichiro. And he was like a lightning bolt for Seattle. It was this little guy, didn't speak great English, that came in. And then actually it turned out he did speak good English, but just pretended like he didn't. And he was funny and he was charismatic. And oh, by the way, he hit 351 as a rookie. So I became obsessed with Ichiro. And then the Kobe's for me are just a really important piece. I loved him growing up. I played basketball in college for 4 years, not particularly well, but gave it a run. And Kobe was one of my all-time favorite players. So these are two of my favorite items.
Yeah, you're speaking to a big Seattle sports fan. I too, and of course I can hear my audience. Oh, now we know why Jordan's on, because I'm a big Seattle sports guy myself.
Love it.
And the Mariners unfortunately are up to their old tricks again this year.
Yeah.
But we can get back to that. That's really cool. Ichiro, big fan of his. But I know you also look at there. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I recognize that. I got one of those. Oh yeah, Seahawks. There we go.
No, hold on, I'm going to show you one more
Okay.
thing. Just one more.
Here we go. Stay with us, folks. We're gonna get to golf here in a second. Oh, my.
More Russell.
Oh, Russ.
And to me, the white. I love the white on gray. The gray on white.
I need that.
I gotta thank my father-in-law for getting this for me. So
I need that in my man cave.
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right, there you go.
God, I got to come up there and look at that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff in there. All right, your golf. You like golf too? Not you.
I love golf. I just don't play it well.
Yeah, I mean, well, join the club, right? I mean, everybody's like, yeah, there's a lot of us that are in that. But you're big in basketball. You're big in the NFL. You're following it. You got a great following at Jordan Schultz on Instagram, Twitter. And of course, the NBA's ramping up. We'll get to that here in a second. Sure. Here as the finals are near. But you watch some golf too. You try to get out there, major championship. You got to tune in. It's the PGA, and it's like, all right, it's kind of a snooze fest. And all of a sudden, it picks up. So I got to ask you, coming down the stretch, Mito Pereira hits it in the water, makes double on the last hole. What were your first thoughts and emotions watching that?
Well, I am a huge Justin Thomas fan.
Okay.
So I was fired up for him. I was fired up for golf because I was like, here we go. And I also felt horrible for Mito. I don't know him. Like, what kind of, is he well liked?
Well, he's a rookie from Chile, and no one really knows a whole lot about him. If you follow the podcast, you do, because I've been talking about him for a while now, him and Cameron Young.
Cameron Young, that guy is sick.
Well, he's a New York kid. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's up there in the New York. He had a great run in the Met section, which is incredible. But look, I mean, like the fringe fans, like who? Mito and
I didn't know. I wasn't. I mean, I knew him, but not well.
Right. And then it's like, okay, well, JT's 8 back. Yeah. After his bogey on 3, it's like this is over. Yeah. Like this, one of these guys. Will Zalatoris. Oh, okay, we can rally around him. Went to Wake Forest, and then okay, Justin. All of a sudden he's 5 back, and then he's 4, and then he's 3, and all of a sudden he's got a chance. If he makes that putt on the 18th, he kind of felt like he was going to win, and he didn't. No, okay, well, Mito's going to birdie the 17th. Well, he didn't, and then he's going to, he's going to go ahead and get it done on 18, and then he knocks it in the water, and all of a sudden we've got this crazy finish to a tournament that was really, I thought,
it wasn't a great
quite
tournament.
Boring. Yeah, it wasn't. So
where was Justin exactly when he hit in the water?
Well, Justin was 1 shot back.
Okay,
so Mito
2 at that point. Okay, it was 1. Okay.
Yeah, so Mito doubled the last hole to lose by 1. And Will Zalatoris had to make that putt. Yeah, Will Zalatoris had to make that putt to get into the playoff. Which there for a while, I didn't think Will was going to hang on, but he did.
See, I thought he would, and I actually thought when Justin was way back, I said all he needs is a chance. I talked to my buddy who's a massive Alabama fan.
Okay.
And JT obviously. So he says to me, "What are your thoughts? Is Justin gonna be T10?" And I said he's gonna win it. No, I didn't say. I was kidding. I said he's gonna get in. He's gonna get involved. But I didn't think he would ultimately win it. So I felt bad for Mito because that's the equivalent of being. Why don't we say that's the equivalent of being up 1, missing both free throws to ice it, and then the other team comes back. And
there you go. Yeah.
Comes down and hits a game winner. It's brutal. And everyone looks at you and says, you blew it. It's your fault. And now you're kind of labeled as a loser.
Or you throw a pick 6 to lose the game, right?
Or yeah, exactly. Or it's 3rd and 1 and you don't get it. You don't pick up the first and you go for it and you fumble or something like that. Yeah. It's always.
Yeah. It was interesting. I said earlier when we came on, I said, if he gets it up and down on 17, he wins. He hit a great drive right to the front, like a little vanilla, just hit shot. These guys hit that shot in their sleep, and he kind of clanked it up there to 15 feet and missed it, didn't birdie. So if he had a 2-shot lead going into the last hole, that's a nice comfort where you can just hit a little 4-iron down the fairway.
That's a gimme though, Travis, right? For these guys?
Yeah. It is. That up and down is, yeah.
All he had to do was bogey, really, right?
Well, if he bogeyed, he gets into a playoff. Yeah. If he bogeyed, he gets into the playoff, but he made double bogey.
So what? No, but here's the thing: when you're up 2 strokes going into the final hole, don't you have the reassurance that you can just play this super safe and par, and it's pretty easy?
Exactly. So if he gets the ball up and down on 17 for birdie, that's what he has. And my point is he gets that ball up and down 9 times out of 10 in his sleep.
So that's just nerves.
I think so. Yeah, I think, and that's what I came on to. And I want to transition to this question to you because I'm really curious to get your thoughts on this. I said in the intro, in golf, because of all the experience these young guys have, when you look at the experience as a junior golfer, collegiate golfer, mini tours, they play competitively and push their whole life. And they get to the PGA Tour and they're ready to win. Like they've already had the experience. What hasn't changed is the major championship pressure. And you get in that, you've never felt that before. And I think Mito, obviously there's a learning curve there. There's still a big learning curve there. Do you find that to be the same in other sports where like young players, because of all their experience in playing AAU basketball and playing competitive basketball, that when they get to the NBA, they're less scared now than say 30, 40 years ago when they came in?
The difference is there's two things that really impact. I'll do with basketball. Basketball is the AAU circuit, which you're playing oftentimes 2 or 3 games a day. You're on the road. And more importantly than the games is that all the guys.
Right.
So I graduated high school in 2004. So when I was playing AAU basketball, we had Brandon Roy on my team, who was an incredible player.
Yeah.
And I remember we had all these great players in the Seattle area, and everyone would go on there. If there's 3 or 4 big AAU teams, and we go to North Carolina or Vegas or whatever, and you play these tournaments. By the end of the tournament, and by the time you were a junior, because your last AAU circuit is your junior summer, you knew all the top 300-400 players in the country. So by the time you get to the NBA, now you're weeding out, all these great players. You know everyone.
That's true.
So there's a comfort level within that comes from just the experience of, yes, playing a lot of basketball at a young age and pushing, but also when people, some of that fear and intimidation is lost. Even for like guys that are like really tough guys, like you look at him and you're like, that's my guy. I just had McDonald's with him, so for me, when I'm watching the NBA playoffs, specifically, Travis, the conference finals, the peak of basketball, you see all these great players. These guys have been playing against one another since they were 14 or 15 years old or younger. In Luka's case, he turned pro when he left the house at 13. He was a full-fledged pro by the time he was 14. He was the EuroLeague MVP and champ by the time he was 17, which will never happen again. So there is not a fear factor for most guys. And when you're obviously, you're going to have nerves, especially at a young age. But when I talk to guys, like, are you nervous? Almost all of them, even in these huge games, when the ball is tipped, that's it. It's gone. So I was always really nervous before games. I didn't have that like mental capacity. Even like meaningless games, I was nervous, and oftentimes nervous during the game, if I was playing poorly. I did not have that like mental fortitude. That's why I look at golf. That's why I'm so interested in golf, given the psychological inner battle that guys go through.
Yeah, well, it's so individual, right? You're making the ball move yourself every single time. Where in basketball, you're kind of flowing with your teammates and the rhythm of the game, and I don't want to say you can hide, but
you can hide. You can hide. I used to hide. Especially on defense.
I would hide if I had Roy on my team too.
Especially on defense. My AAU program had Brandon Roy and Martell Webster, who were both lottery picks. Brandon went out of UW and Martell out of high school. So I was often hiding. Yes.
Can you see, because it's really interesting to me, and I open with this, like, okay, that learning curve, it's very, very little now, and they're ready, right? You're making the point in the NBA. They're ready. They've seen it. They've done it. Let's go. It's just another tournament. Get out of my way. I can win this. But then it became very apparent to me again, there's a big learning curve when that biggest pressure hits, is no matter what your experience you've had up to that point, you still haven't won one of the big ones. You haven't won the major championship or the NBA championship or the Super Bowl. And it's always fascinating when that moment happens, the ones that then, they continue to go forward. And it's a very, very small percent of them. JT goes forward. I mean, we've known this. I've watched it. Justin Spieth goes forward. Tiger went forward. There's a lot of guys I could label to you as great players on the PGA Tour that when that moment hits, they don't go forward. They protect and they almost kind of hope, right?
Yeah, you're hoping for the best, which is the worst. Can I swear?
Yeah.
It is the worst fucking thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, it is. Now, can you see that? Can you see that in the NBA?
Yeah.
You can. Okay.
Yes,
You can.
Yeah. I can't see it in the NFL because I didn't play. I mean, I played football, but not in college. So in basketball, I was around the NBA at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
I was around NBA players. You know, Ray Allen broke my nose. Like I played against some of the best players in the world, or played against. But I see it, and I know when a guy's shrinking because I know how I used to do it.
Yeah.
So there were some games where I would rise and in big games and play great. In my Super Bowl or my NBA championship, we went downstate for the first time in school history, and I had the worst game of my life in the biggest possible stage. And I know why, because I was too scared.
Yeah.
And the moment was too big for me when I was 18. When I see guys in the NBA, it's not necessarily missing a shot. It's how you miss a shot or the shot you don't take. So you might see a guy who's a great shooter, what I'll say short arm it. And that means he'll pull back just a little bit, or he'll kind of guide it on a jump shot. And I'll see it because mechanically it's different. And it might not look that much different, but there's just in basketball and shooting, and I was a shooter. That's what I did best. The only thing I did really well, to be honest, and I did it great. In shooting, it's so technical and so much muscle memory, like an insane amount that you don't even think about it. So when you do start thinking about it, that's when you short arm it, and that's when that technique comes into play, and then you start missing shots. And then that's when you stop taking shots.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel confident, and then you're hoping it goes in as opposed to it's going to go in.
Yeah.
So yes, I see it. I think you see it a lot of times with younger players. I mentioned guys that have been through it. It's oftentimes the great young players because there's so much pressure on them, and they're dubbed the next great player, the next great one, that you see it. Maybe they'll struggle their first couple of years in the playoffs or in a big game because they haven't had that pressure yet.
You said you like JT, right? And
I love Jason Tatum and Justin Thomas.
Okay. Two JTs. Yeah, there you go. So Justin, let's see, Tatum, Duke, right? Tatum with
Duke, from St. Louis.
And JT was Alabama, as you said. When you watch Justin Thomas as a fan, right? And you watch him, how would you describe him? Is there a comp in other sports of JT?
Well, you said he was 5'10". He's 5'9", 5'10", 165 soaking wet.
I mean, he don't look much bigger than that to me.
He's got, but you also told me this, which I guess I can see as a golf fan. He's got really easy power, right?
Yeah. Explosive. It's easy, but it's fast twitch,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually have a couple of comps.
Okay.
I am a massive tennis fan as well.
Okay.
Love tennis. And the best comp for me is actually looking at tennis, smaller players who are really wiry and generate a tremendous amount of power and pop.
Very good.
So I've gotten really into tennis since I basically stopped playing basketball because I like the competitiveness, the one-on-one. It has some of that golf feel. But you see these guys who walk into a tennis court, and I'll play these guys, and they're really small and 140, 160, 170 pounds. And then they're serving big and they're playing, we say, really big. So I look at that and I think, okay, how is he generating that much pop at that size? So there's a couple guys, but there's a young player on tour, or I guess on ATP tour. His name is Carlos Alcaraz. Have you heard of him?
I have. I'm not sure.
I'm curious how big he is. I don't think he's bigger than. Bear with me here.
Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah.
So Justin Thomas is 5'10".
Yeah. So Carlos is 6 feet. So he's a little bigger. 180 pounds, 175 pounds.
160 pounds in his profile, but he said he's put on 10, so we'll go 165. That's about right.
Yeah, and so I look at Carlos. When I first started watching him play, I was like, this guy's 6'4", 6'5". And then I looked him up, and he's like 6'6.5". So that's the comp for me. And he's a young, up and coming player who's already like a star. But I'm just thinking about him because I've been watching him so much, and now you got Roland Garros coming on, and I see a lot of that with Justin Thomas, where you don't understand how he's generating so much power. And Carlos is a really young guy. I think Thomas is 29 now, but ever since he came up, you saw this pop with him when he swings, and it's like, God, he's hitting the ball so far and so well. So that's one comp for me.
Okay.
In basketball, it's not fair, but the easy comp is Steph Curry, because Steph is, he's 6'3", 180, 195 pounds. I was with Steph I spent the day with him about a month ago. And one of the things that struck me with him was what you just said about Justin Thomas, where, what do you say? He has a lot of power, but what was the word you used?
Fast twitch.
Fast twitch, yeah. So Steph, despite not being a 40-inch vertical like a Nate Robinson guy, another guy I grew up playing against,
Seattle kid,
has that super crazy balance, fast twitch, ability to do things at his size that don't really make sense. He's so smart. Yep. That's what I see with JT. And that's always kind of why I love Justin Thomas and Steph, because, it's easier to relate to guys that you feel like embody you more. Like it's kind of hard for fans to relate to 7-foot guys. But when you see someone that's normal size, it's a little easier.
Yeah, I think those are good comps. I can relate to the Steph Curry, who's up 3-0 right now. They're about ready to move on past the Mavericks, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the East with Boston and Miami. But the guys you mentioned, Steph Curry, loves golf, really good player.
Great player, and has his new underrated tour coming out now, which is really cool.
Very cool. Love Steph Curry, everything he does. But huge fan. Ray Allen, really good player.
Yes.
Another supersonic player. I've actually watched Ray Allen play in a couple events, and he gets it around nice. He's a legitimate.
He's like
2 or 3 handicap. Yeah, legitimate.
And Steph's more like a borderline scratch, right?
Yeah, Steph's probably a little better. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, he's probably closer to scratch.
And Romo is a little better.
And Romo's a very good player right there. I would say probably even a little better than Steph.
So Romo might be like plus.
Could be. John Smoltz is for sure. John Smoltz.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Smoltz is excellent.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Ray, because you can't see Ray Allen on Instagram or social media without golf. He's obsessed. He's always been like that.
It's funny, like golf, I've been in it my whole life. And we've finally, in this sport, I feel like, have gotten over the hump.
It's cool now.
It's more, it's definitely on the cool side. I think the doors are as open as they've ever been, which I think is super important. And people are coming in, and they're flying in, and they're loving it. And social media has helped golf so much, because when Steph posts and Ray posts, and Patrick Mahomes posts that he's taking lessons, and Travis Kelce's hitting a slice off, like all of that does so much for the game of golf. It's amazing for their fans to see them playing golf and saying such good things about it. John Smoltz did an interview with Joe Buck on Saturday on ESPN. And he said, I found this pretty interesting. He said that if he would have started playing golf earlier, he's not quite so sure if he actually would have pursued baseball. He probably would have pursued golf.
Wow.
I mean, that's one of the greats, man.
Yeah.
He is obsessed with it.
Wow.
And is a great player. He told some really, really cool stories about playing with Tiger at Augusta and this and that when he was playing. But he was just like, man, I just kind of came to it a little bit later. And when I got there, it was like I needed to learn the craft. And as my baseball season started to wind down, or my career, I started to take it more and more. And obviously he's gotten really good. But he said, if I would have learned it when I was 10, I'm not so sure if I would have played baseball.
This might be a ridiculous question, but is he like good enough to play on the senior tour or no?
He's probably not. No, he's probably not good enough to play on the Champions Tour. I would say he's probably just under that. Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Like you look at John Smoltz and like these +1, +2, like that's a really high level of play.
Yeah, but
it doesn't sniff what you're watching on TV. Like you're watching guys that basically fall out of bed and shoot 67. I mean, and that's why I tell people, like, hey, I'm thinking about turning pro and making a run out. I was like, where's your home course? So-and-so. Like, what do you shoot with your buddies on your home course?
You should be shooting like 64.
You should be like falling down shooting 65. Basically, it needs to feel like, I really didn't even play that good and shot 500 or 600 today. Wow. Like it needs to be that good, that great. I mean, these guys are insanely good. Insane. It's if you got to watch Justin Thomas up close, dissect the golf course and this and that, you just be like, okay, I'm out.
So that is that where, a lot of the experience comes into play? Justin having already won a PGA,
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the point I'm making, is that the curve is still there with the big ones, like the major championships. Yeah, you can get on the first page, but at some point it's going to hit you. At some point, it's your turn to win. What are you going to do? And I think Mito didn't get it up and down in 17, knocked the 1 or 18. He wasn't ready yet. Doesn't mean he can't get back there, but I think historically, it's unlikely he'll get back there. It's hard to get back there. He's so damn competitive out there, but he's a good player. I do think he'll come back and, he'll win. Mito, he's kind of I don't know him that well. I know some of the people that are around him that teach him. And I think he's just kind of a happy-go-lucky, like he
seems like
he'll shrug it off. Yeah, there'll be some tear there for sure, but he'll go past it. I mean,
what would be a player? This is just me as a big golf fan. Who would be the opposite that almost has too much swag and needs to hone it down? Like, would that be Bryson?
Probably.
Okay, he needs to tone it down because you're like, Bryson, you're out of, you just calm it down.
I think it's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair to say Bryson could tone it down a little bit, get back to the basics of what makes him tick in great golf. And I think Ricky Fowler kind of
Kiki.
Ricky was a great player, and then kind of started changing his swing, and he's got all these endorsements and this and that, and like
too much.
Yeah, it's too much for
Oklahoma State's finest. See, I love when he used to wear that fucking orange hat.
Yep.
And all the orange gear. And now I'm like, what happened to the guy?
Well,
I mean, he's still a very good player, right?
One of the things that happens in golf is that these players, for whatever reason, they feel the need to tinker and change technique and this and that. And Ricky went through a pretty decent swing change about a year and a half ago, and I don't think he's really ever come out on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you counter that with getting married, a kid. He's financially stable. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't think
he's made it.
I don't think it's not burning in the belly as much. And I think those swing changes was the wrong move to make at that stage of his career. We've talked about that for a full podcast. But yeah, there's guys that could tone it down, I think, a little bit. It's competitive out there. I mean, golf's in a great spot. It's cool to see guys like you commenting on it, in what you do in your sport, basketball and football, and how big those sports are in this country. And now for golf to kind of be a little more mainstream, I think, and getting into that conversation, guys playing it, women playing it, everybody's playing it. And then they get into the sport and then they get addicted. It's like,
that's the thing about golf,
man. It's like, it's hard, but it's addicting.
Here are the two things that I've seen change. One is players talk about it unprompted all the time.
Okay.
It's like ridiculous how much. I mean, just today I was talking to Pete Warner, who's a really good young player on the Saints, Ohio State guy, rising star. And we were talking about golf. And I was like, I had no idea that you play golf. He's like, I'm really getting into it. I just hear that all the time. Really getting into it. I'm going to be at the match. Will you be there?
Me? No.
First? Okay. So I'll be there.
So. Okay.
I'll be there with all the guys. And, it's like, that's amazing. There's 4 of the greatest quarterbacks in the game. They're playing. That's awesome to me. I'm super fired up. But the fact that you have transcending sports, basketball, baseball, football, it's fucking awesome, man. These guys, when I talk to guys about going on vacation, I can't tell you how many guys will tell you, will tell me, and you know what I'm going to say, I'm not going to go to that place unless they have a golf course.
Yeah.
Or unless it's within, driving range.
Not funny.
Literally. Has to be 10 minutes away. Do they have a golf pro? I had one guy, I don't even want to say it because he's not very good yet and he'll be mad, but I had one guy ask me about a hotel in a tropical place. That I had been to, saying, how's the golf pro there? Can he work with me a little bit? And I was like, what are you talking about? It's great beaches. He's like, yeah, but if I'm going to be on vacation, I need to make sure there's a good golf pro at work with me.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. That's what's happening. It's cool to see. And, there's a lot of runway yet to be had. All right. Last question. US Open's in a month. Who's going to win the match? Actually, first off, I mean, who's
the match? Well, it's Brady and Rodgers versus Mahomes and Allen.
Right.
I think Rodgers is the best. Then probably Pat, Brady, Josh. So I'll go with the older guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think they're favored, and I think they'll be better. Yeah.
U.S. Open. Your boy Bryson going to win another one?
No, I don't see it.
No.
I told you before we started recording. Let's just book in on this.
Okay.
Colin, I love him. What's stopping him
from winning the US
Open? And isn't that course really good for him? It's a little longer.
I think this course. I don't know as much about Brookline as I do Southern Hills at this point. I need to do a little more.
Boston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a little longer, and it's supposed to be pretty tough. I mean,
Oh, it's going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. This course, Southern Hills, I've played. Big emphasis on short game, up and down, scrabbling. I don't think that's Morikawa's real strength DNA. Like, I mean, he can get it up and down and do it, but I just don't feel like that was the right spot. U.S. Open at Brookline, perhaps.
What about Scotty?
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, Scotty Scheffler. I mean, this guy has come out of nowhere and has won. It's interesting though. I've never seen Scotty so frustrated as he was this week. I mean, outwardly frustrated. It's amazing how the expectation level goes up and frustration goes up.
Because people now they know that name and they're like, what happened to this guy this weekend? He stinks.
Yeah. No. You're going to miss some cuts. I mean, it's just the bottom line. You're going to miss some cuts. You're going to miss cuts in big tournaments. Golf is a game where you could be playing very well and scoring poorly.
Yeah.
It's a game you could be playing poorly and scoring well. Like, it makes no sense. And you're going to have some bad breaks, and all of a sudden you're on the outside of the cut.
See, basketball's the same. You can go 4 or 15, but play well, just not shoot it well. And that happens with Steph, even the best shooter in the world. Yeah. But over the course of a 7-game series, if you are playing well, you're also going to be able to make adjustments. And then you will figure out a way if you're a great player. Yeah. In golf, I don't know, even over the course of 4 days, is that possible if it's a tough course?
It is going to play out. It might need a little more than 4 days to kind of play it out. There's a little bit of luck in golf for sure. That happens. And, so like there's the average, right, over a period of time. I like to look at like 50 rounds. That seems to be a number that I like. 50 rounds kind of gives me a very solid sample size of, okay, here's the DNA of this player. He's a really good ball striker with his irons. He struggles a little bit with his short game. His putting's okay. He's better on bent versus Bermuda. He's like, that's a sample size, right? I think when you get too small, you don't get the whole picture. And I didn't like Colin Morikawa coming into this. I gamble on golf and pick on Tuesday. Our Tuesday show is all about looking ahead. And I had JT on the card because I thought this would be a really good play for him. And
did you live bet it when he was back 8?
No, I had it up front. So, but I should have hit it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I should have hit it again. You're right. He had a 1% chance to win after the third hole. 1%.
Yeah. Last question for me is, you mentioned guys that haven't been able to win the big ones. Finau kind of feels, is he that kind of? Yeah, he's comfortable just being T10.
Yeah, I think like Finau and Xander are two players. Xander Schauffele are two world-class players. Two of the best players in the game right now. But I do think it's fair to say when the pressure hits, they tend to put it neutral. And, they don't have killer instinct to put multiple tournaments away. Xander and Tony would have more wins. I think Xander has 4 right now, and Tony has 2.
Yeah, Tony's the one for me because you always just wish that there were just push through on some of these big tournaments because the talent is there. You see it. He's really he's a special player, but man, just cannot win these big tournaments.
Right. See, I don't think JT pushed through and won this one. The door opened for him. I mean, Mito
took advantage.
He took advantage, and then when he got into the playoff, he never missed a shot. He hit it in the rough on the first hole, but that was it. I mean, he laid up, still made birdie. So you just see him like, okay, you're going to give me a chance to win this? Get out of my way. Here I come. And that's, you can just see his mindset is just totally different than Xander. Oh my gosh, I'm near the lead, 3 to play at the Masters. I hit it in the water on 16. Finau in a playoff in Genesis with Max Homa.
Yeah, that was tough.
Get it up and down from uphill, and he can't. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch, and it's tough to say because you like
Tough to watch when you're rooting.
you like these guys, but it's the truth. I mean, it's just the truth. All right, good stuff, Jordan Schultz.
Travis, thanks for having me. It's a blast.
Yeah, man, good stuff. So what do you got? Real quick here before we go. We got, I mean, Golden State's going through.
Well, I had Golden State in 5 in the series. I never thought Dallas was going to be in the series. This is the one is the Miami Boston series, really interesting just because both teams are just really good.
Yeah.
There's not any weaknesses. You've had some injuries, but both really well coached. I mean, Spoelstra's tremendous. Ime's really found his rhythm with the Celts. Boston defensively is a little better. Miami's a great jump shooting team, great 3-point shooting team, but now Hero's out. Butler was out. So there's just both teams dealing with injuries. I gave Miami the edge at 7 before the series. They're at home. But
and they're up 2-1.
They're up 2-1. Ultimately, if it's Miami or Boston, Golden State to me has the most weaponry. And the fact that they've been able to get this young kid, Jordan Poole, playing at this level. And he's basically 20 points a game. He's shooting 50% from the floor, 40 from 3 in the playoffs. Wow. He's really good. And one of those guys that you saw come in, and then he really just exploded. So Golden State is the most flexible team. They can play different lineups. They can play small. They can play big. And they have Steve Kerr, who's won 3 championships as a coach. So I like the Warriors the most. And I think Steph is playing at the best level he's played at all year. Not in his career, but all year.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun to watch. I mean, they are fun to watch, and I'll be watching here as I'll be watching the Celtics in Miami. That's going to be interesting.
Celtics win game 4, I think.
Okay.
At home, 2-2.
All right, Jordan. Thanks so much. Join us on the pod, man.
Thank you, Travis. Okay, brother.